Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth here and I'm just going to take you through some writing tips when it comes to looking at writing your literature review and other academic writing. So let's just start with what you want to get out of it. As soon as you start writing, you need to be able to show that you understand the work. As you write, you begin to understand, and it's seen as this act of learning the subject matter and owning it, being able to put it in a way that other people who read it will be able to understand it. So in that way, you're also writing to be understood. You'll go through this process of writing, evaluating what you write, and editing quite continuously throughout your writing point until the work is finished. The next thing, and this is really a tip that is very easy to say but not as easy to do always, is to write early and write often. Writing is like anything else. It is a skill. You need to be able to practice it. You need to make it a habit. And the more that you write, the easier it becomes. Have you ever sat down and you've struggled for like half an hour and then suddenly it feels like the flow is happening with writing? That's because you've gotten into it. It's become a lot easier. If you then drop it and you don't do it for a few weeks, it will be very difficult to start again. So make sure that you write consistently, even if it's a sentence or a paragraph a day. The next thing is don't get it right, get it written. It's very easy to try and think things out in your head and to make sense of it, but just rather get it on paper. Get that drafting happening. It helps you clarify your thoughts by seeing it. You can be able to actually start to move things around as they make sense, and it identifies what needs more work for you. The main thing to remember when you are writing really is the following. You need to have a golden thread. It is your overall line of argument, and it's got to continuously be present throughout your paper, throughout your thesis. It holds everything together. Usually that golden thread is your research question or your hypothesis, so make sure that you're constantly bringing back things to your research question, and you're busy showing how what you're saying is relevant, and that golden thread will be apparent throughout. It's got to be that one thing people remember when they finish reading your article. Next thing is you need to have very good titles, subtitles, and headings. It's easy for someone to skim through your article and understand what's going on, that they don't feel lost when trying to read it. And having these kind of signposts in the form of titles, subtitles, and headings really helps with the flow of the argument that you're making and your article. You need to have a very good engagement with authority, and those are people in the field that you're citing. It shows that you know your subject matter. It shows that you have looked at it. It shows that you're using critical thinking skills. And often people have a look at the bibliography and see whether or not the person has done good research, and they can see whether or not it is a comprehensive one or a non-comprehensive one. So make sure you've got good authority and good engagement. Things you should really be avoiding. First is long quotations. Break it up. If it's 2 lines or more, rather don't put it in as a quotation, paraphrase it, or break it up with your own commentary if you really, really have to, but just avoid long quotations, full stop. The next thing is you can have the most wonderful arguments, you can present everything well, but if you have bad presentation, if your formatting is wrong and your referencing is wrong, that tends to put people off. It's like giving the best food in the world, but serving it on nothing that makes it look appealing. So it can taste wonderful, but it looks awful, and you don't want to eat it. So remember that you have to have beautiful presentation, ensure that everything's correct. Keep your diamond sparkling, don't make it a diamond in the rough. I'm just going to go over what each of these sections are, and first of all we'll start with what your introduction should have. Your introduction really is there to introduce your topic, so it explains the focus, it establishes why the subject that you're dealing with is important. It also says what has been done on the topic previously, so it identifies any controversy. So if you have 2 different running theories, you can say that there are 2 theories, and you can say why each of them are different and which one you're going to be relying on. And you can also identify recent research. You're basically giving the background of your topic. You're giving it a history. and you're building up to what you are looking at, and that's your purpose or your thesis statement. You're busy building to what your study is. Okay, so we're looking at the body of your work now, and the main thing that you want to look here is that your headings and your subheadings are nice and crisp, that they're showing the way of your body, the way that the direction of the article is going. And the point of the body is always that it's this big summary. It kind of summarizes what's happening. It evaluates what's happening in terms of literature, in terms of your data. You're not going very much into nitty-gritty here. Everything is grouped according to your major themes or your major topics, and in this way it brings out those most important trends and spend a little bit more time on those trends. You can also highlight any findings about which researchers agree or which researchers are busy disagreeing about, and how this fits into your topic as well. I'm just going to go a little bit in the body. You want to look at your paragraph structure. So this is very formal, and you'll find that if you're struggling to write, use this as a guide. And then it will get easier as you go through the editing. So your first sentence is what we call the topic sentence. That summarizes what the argument of the paragraph is about, so what it's about. It says what you're going to do. So, for example, you can say that the fourth industrial revolution is going to impact many jobs, some of which are in the sector that I will be looking at. So there you've said this is what the argument is about. It's about the impact of the fourth industrial revolution on jobs, and you're going to discuss it in what the impact is on your specific sector. Then you elaborate. So you can do additional information, you extend it, and this is often where literature comes in, or your own findings comes in, and you also will link your evidence with that. So your evidence could be, if you are dealing with your methods and your findings, your quantitative data or your qualitative data or your data analysis. Evidence is also literature, so you can bring in more about your literature there. And then your last section, that'll really be a linking thing. You need to make sure that it goes on to what the next paragraph is about. So you can say, as seen above, the impact on the agricultural sector really is going to be massive for the fourth industrial revolution. However, we have not seen how it will impact agricultural economics yet. Ta-da, your next paragraph's about agricultural economics. So in this way, it's a very slow process, but it's quite a good way to do this. And then lastly, your conclusion. So your conclusion is basically a summary. Your introduction and your conclusion reflect each other. Your introduction says, this is what I'm going to do. Your conclusion says, this is what I have done. It shows how all the evidence is there. It shows what's significant. It shows what the gaps are. And it says how your research is addressing all of that. The last thing I want to say is that keep in mind when you are writing to use the funnel approach at all times. So this is really where you go from general to specific. So if you were doing, for example, a topic on leadership and democracy in the 21st century in terms of companies, then you would first speak about what is leadership, what is a 21st century organization, what is, in this case, participatory leadership democracy, what is that as a style, and then only would you really start to speak about your topic. And that's all. I hope that these tips help you, and remember, you can always contact your friendly librarian for any help.